What's up, guys? So I wanted to go over a couple swings here and show you the difference. Really, the difference in what swing I believe makes up a good swing versus pretty much the convention out there. What I'm trying to convey is that swing instruction conventionally out there right now and conventionally in the past has basically been on the wrong path. And what we almost need to completely reverse or just erase everything that we've thought was good about a swing. And we kind of need a paradigm shift, is really the message that I'm saying out there. And the good news is it's really not as difficult as it seems out there. Um, it's almost like swing instructors want to overcomplicate it. I'm not saying that's why they do it, but they're okay with making it very complicated because that means that when you hear them talk, you feel like there's really a need to seek the professional and to keep seeking him and keep going back. But it just doesn't need to be as confusing as what people are making it. And my message is that you should really lean heavy, and by that I mean really your only mechanical training should be what I call the front arm progression, swinging with just your front arm and then slowly adding your back arm. And there are many reasons why we tend to overexert with the back arm. It could be just evolutionary. Maybe the swing of our ancestors worked better when the back arm overexerted. It could be that our generation is doing it more because of, we're growing up with plastic bats and light, extremely light metal bats for the formative years of our childhood when we're forming our swing structure. And I think this has a major effect. People don't talk about that. And they dismiss these guys from the early 1900s as having um, I get it. I did the same thing. You look at the video, it's fast, it's sped up old video. They look silly. They look silly. I mean, let's face it, Ruth running around the bases at twice the speed looks silly. It looks like they're just, you know, doing a circus. I mean, honestly. And that's what people look at them like. I think that's the big kind of myth out there. That's the big mistake we're making, in a way. Um, that's one of them. That's one way of looking at it. And so maybe it's plastic bats that we grow up with. Maybe it's a matter of being dominant in the back arm. Maybe that's a huge uh, cause of this kind of swing. And we tend to position hitters so their dominant arm is in back. And if we look at the best, uh, and by the way, what I'm saying about that is we position players with their dominant arm in back. That could be a mistake. I mean, it's possible, and it seems very likely, actually, if you look at the evidence, that if we just position hitters with their dominant arm in front, David Mann out of Vrije University in Amsterdam has extensively studied this and has found that there is a correlation between being front arm dominant and being a better hitter. I think you're something like 12 times more likely to make the Hall of Fame if you position yourself with your dominant arm in front. So um, there are many ways to kind of look at the way that I'm trying to show people is looks like it's a better way. Um, and the way that I like to describe it is it all comes down to this start of the forward swing. That's really, to me, it sets you on a certain track. And So it's therefore a moment in the swing that is more important than other moments. And I think that this is one way in which you could say that what I'm saying is completely different than everyone else out there. I'm saying that it's not about many different parts of your body and how they move at many different times in the swing. I'm saying that there's actually one small location in the body, rather small location, that if it's gotten right at the exact right time in the swing, then it works as almost like a button, or it just flips the switch of all the other, it changes all the other positions, and changes the structure of your swing by just focusing on this one small point. And that is when you redirect, when you go from whatever you want to say, your backswing or your stride, and you start forward. That moment where you connect the backswing with the forward swing is a crucial moment. And what I like to see is that the barrel flattens and drops a little bit. So the bat takes almost like a loop as it goes from backswing into this dropped position. And I think, again, another way to look at it is I've noticed, and this is what I'm trying to share with people, that if you swing with just the front arm, then it naturally wants to drop you onto this path. In order to swing the best possible way with just your front arm, you tend to want to do this flattening action. And so what that's saying basically is if the back arm just isn't so dominant at that start and instead lays back, sort of flattens the bat out behind you like this and gets in almost a disadvantageous position, it would seem like. It can't really do much from here. You're kind of quote unquote handcuffed, which I believe happens to be a good thing, because what you mainly want to be in at that point is a front arm dominant structure, the structure that you would be in if you were swinging with only your front arm. I think that for whatever reason, to hit a baseball, to hit a pitched baseball as far as you can, as hard as you can, as often as you can, for whatever reason, it takes this front arm dominant structure. And again, maybe our ancestors, when they swung, maybe it wasn't advantageous to swing in this front arm dominant structure. So maybe it's in our DNA not to, but certain people just override that because for whatever reason. I think a lot of it has to do with swinging at a young age with a heavy enough bat. I think that rewires you to have to be in this more front arm dominant structure because their arms just aren't strong enough at that point. They intuitively know I'm going to have to use my body, so the arms kind of connect to the body, and it's primarily the body swinging the bat. If we look at this pro, you'll see that, and a lot of pros now don't have swings that I like. What I think happens is these guys enter the pros, and a lot of them don't even pay attention to swing mechanics and instruction, and what's going on in swing instruction at that time. But they get to the pros, and maybe they start to think to themselves, I should start to pay attention to this and, take my job more seriously. I'm getting paid. Maybe they look into swing instruction. They start hanging out with the hitting coach, and they're influenced by what is being taught, which I think is not almost always. I mean, honestly, I could safely say always a bad idea. I think people are just, if you're focusing on the wrong thing in swing instruction, it's a unique game like this. If you're not right on, it's like hitting a nail. If you're not right on, you're way off, no matter what. That's what I've noticed. And I think you have to get this game right, or else you're actually going to go backwards. And so these guys, I think, that's why I see it so often in the pros. I mean, all the pros have the same swing now, it seems like. That very, hanging back on the back leg, tight in the upper body, and pushing the hands out. And I know people say they don't like the push, but there's pushing going on all over the place in professional baseball. And this guy is no different. He looks like he just has basically the the conventional swing. Now look at where the bat, this is where I see the main problem. It's basically skipping the whole link of the hands getting more depth. Even if they get just a little bit more depth. You know, basically it's skipping the shoulders. Because when your hands get more depth, you feel it in the shoulders. And today's conventional swing, it's like they're just going from here, hands pretty in front of the chest, and they're just kind of as long as they snap it back, they don't care about skipping this link. They just go ahead. So all this energy that's moving up your body, it's not moving through your shoulders all that efficiently. So you're kind of skipping that link. And you can see he's just firing out right from there. And then, of course, he has a slice hit on it. The key point is where the bat is coming at this point in the swing, coming through almost his neckline. Now, let's look at the difference between this and he slices off the ball. And this is something that, you know, hitting the ball to the opposite field is something that's just overhyped. And this is another way that maybe I disagree with a lot of people out there. I just don't get the overemphasis on hitting the ball the other way, especially when it only promotes more of what they're advocating in swing instruction, which I think is very detrimental. But, you know, he's slicing off the ball, and this is not a good hit to slice off the ball like that. Conversely, let's look at the amateur. Notice the circular route that the bat takes and how much lower it's coming out at this point in the swing. It's, you know, just look at the bat position here as opposed to here. Okay. That is, to me, this is the location of the big problem. This is the area that you need to get right. And it'll kind of morph the rest of your swing necessarily. But first you have to just feel this. The biggest difference, as you can see, is how flat the bat is here as opposed to the pro who's going through basically his neckline. What also happens is when you do this through contact, you don't run out of room through contact. You can see he's just very smoothly going into contact because of this flattened action and this lower positioning of the hands. And so you're not crunched through contact. This is one of the great things about swinging like this. You just feel free. And he's not crunched, and then he can just kind of extend as hard as he wants through contact. We see this same sort of movement in the greater ball strikers. This movement of the back arm, which is basically in a very non-dominant position here, and just doesn't overexert at the start, just drops loosely. That allows him to use his body to mainly control the club or the bat. We look at Rafael Nadal and his backswing. Same sort of thing. From here to here, the hands have dropped. And you see this flattening action of the racket too. This is the kind of move that you need. This is kind of the feel that I'm trying to convey. I do it a lot in talking about positions because positions kind of prove that there's a different movement going on. But it's ultimately a feel that we're looking for. And this move here basically attaches his body to the squaring of the racket so he can use his body to square it. Now Eric Davis, I believe the 16th best pound for pound hitter of all time and the lightest of the best pound for pound hitters at 165. He would go up into this positioning. Oftentimes I talk about how you're dropping into this positioning, but it's not really the drop that matters so much, because Davis goes up to it. but it's the positioning of the hands and the back arm, like I said, in this positioning that almost puts the back arm into a disadvantageous position. And then from here, just not basically just staying in this more front arm dominant structure. I mean, like I said, the back arm is put into a position in which it can't really overexert. It wouldn't make sense to overexert from this dropped and flattened position. What would make it and so therefore this position matters the most because it becomes obvious how to move through contact with this. Obviously, you're going to want to use your body to start. And that's where Davis is here. It doesn't matter that he lifted up into it. The front arm progression is really what I believe people need to lean on. That's really the main thing. And I think that focusing on feeling this dropping action and basically placing your arms into the right position at the start of the forward swing, whether you want to move up to it like Davis or whether you want to move down to it, doesn't really matter. But if you can feel that, you can literally change your swing quickly. And I mean, that's kind of my mission. My mission is that I think that so many are doing it wrong out there. They're making it all too confusing. I want people to be led to a moment in which they say, I feel it. And then you don't have to think about swing mechanics anymore. That's the goal. There's plenty of different things to explore and try to get better at. You shouldn't have to be spending years on swing mechanics. It should be on autopilot at some point. Let's face it, the best hitters never even thought about their swing mechanics. You know, what I have to say is quite different from what's out there. The world of swing instruction, I don't think it's going to be very similar at all to what we know it to be now in 5 years. In maybe it'll take 10 years, I don't know, but I think that it's in a way it's underachieving and doesn't know it.